Hey guys, so I spent this weekend playing Diablo 4 and now let's talk about it. First, let's have ourselves a little disclaimer. If you're here for me to brag about how Diablo 4 is not Diablo 2, I'm here to disappoint you. I'm not gonna go that road. Well, maybe just a few steps. Alright, so first let's talk about what everyone seems to agree on, and that is how artistically stunning the game looks. It actually puts you into that dark gothic atmosphere people come to expect from a Diablo game. On the visual side of things, the game looks amazing. I like how detailed various environmental things are, also stuff like reflections from the ice in the caves look pretty damn appealing to human eye. And blood. The game has an abundance of blood, and you will have to spill even more in order to make your way through it. After all, blood is the key. All in all, the art and the graphics design team must have put a ton of effort in designing the game's visuals, and it shines through. The other thing that a lot of people tend to agree on and should not be taken for granted is the sound effects. Whenever it's hitting demons between their eyes with your sharp blade, swiftly dashing through hordes of undead using one of your mobility skills, or simply turning over a dead body to get some loot, it all sounds well placed and well polished. Now, since we just discussed how nice the combat sounds, let's talk about how it actually feels. The skill usage feels nice and responsive, the combat itself is pretty dynamic and fast-paced, and it feels familiar to Diablo 3, Lost Ark and Path of Exile, where you spam a few skills while using cooldowns left, right and center. So while we are on the topic of skills, let's bring out the skill tree, and I think it kind of lacks a little bit depth to it. It's definitely a step up from previous Diablo games, and while I don't want it to grow as big as it is in Path of Exile, I would appreciate just a little bit more branches. This is, however, a fraction of what it feels like since we are limited to level 25 in the beta, so we have yet to experience the full potential of it and how it feels when combined with different item powers. Speaking of items, first I was very skeptical about the legendary item powers and extracting their aspects, but while advancing through the game and finding a handful of legendaries, I realized that the system is sort of nice. It interacts with your skills in a plethora of different ways, making build diversity a real thing instead of just playing Hammerdin and Cold Sork over and over like we are used in Diablo 2. For instance, due to an interaction of a couple of legendary powers I've extracted, I was able to basically double my rogue's defensive abilities, all that while adding extra layers of area of effect damage to an already potent skill I was using. And I know that ancient legendaries and uniques are yet to become a part of our gameplay. I think that the drop rates of the existing legendaries need to be adjusted. You can freely trade rare items, which from what I understand could potentially be best in slot, unless of course uniques are something out of this world. Overall, the system is not what I'm used to as a Diablo 2 player, but I think it got all the potential to be fun. I would, however, appreciate being able to trade more items instead of them just binding to my account. And otherwise, I need to experience more gameplay to make a final verdict on if I like it or not. I probably should have talked about this earlier, but the main story quest feels nice, the cutscenes are not something completely out of this world, but they do feel nice in a typical Blizzard fashion. What doesn't feel completely nice is the fact that dungeons are way too repetitive. I mean, bring object A and B to unlock doorway C gets old kind of fast if you ask me. I'm okay with the system as a whole if they add some variety to dungeon objectives and layouts. Also, shrines that make you ridiculously overpowered are an overkill in this game. But then again, that's just my opinion. I would also like to have an option to add a visible minimap in the middle, somewhere on top of my character, instead of just having to stare at the world map while getting pummeled by enemies. On the open world side of things and world bosses, I really like this addition, I'm all for it. For someone that didn't play a lot of PoE or Lost Ark, someone coming straight from Diablo 2, it feels like a breath of fresh air in the genre. Now, as far as regular boss fights go, when going through the main story and leveling up, a few of them actually felt challenging, but once you assembled a few pieces of gear together, you started to outscale them by a large margin. So maybe it needs a bit of fine-tuning, or you're just not meant to have full legendary setup at level 25. And while some of the side quests in the open world can definitely use some work, I'm actually looking forward to explore the open world of Sanctuary this weekend. And guess what? You can do that too, absolutely free of charge. So instead of taking my word for it, you can try it out for yourselves. But if you still prefer to take my word for it and want me to sort of rate the game, I would give it an 8, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. With some question marks regarding the endgame systems that we are yet to experience, it still makes me wanna log in and do stuff. That was about all I had to say about Diablo 4 so far. I might have missed some points or not, but in any case, thank you all for watching.